The Cleveland Browns beat the Baltimore Ravens in an epic game, 11-6, or I fucked it up, 29-24. And let me tell you something. The Browns can go 11-6. I know they only won the second game of the season. They got Jameis Winston starting. But did you watch the Browns play? Okay, admittedly, I didn't really watch the game. I'm a Jags fan. I'm just really doing this as a bit of a half joke to my buddies. But I'm going to actually give you a case why I think the Browns could actually make a run here. Maybe not 11-6, but I think they could actually make a legit run. So why? So let's start with number one, winning this game. This is a huge win. Yeah, they just ended the 5-game streak. They finally scored 20 points, and not only did they score 20 points, they scored 29 against the Ravens, who don't have a great defense, but Jameis Winston, they look like an offense. They have an offense. Once again, we're seeing for the second consecutive year, you virtually can put back almost any solid quarterback, decent quarterback, and the Browns actually have an offense and look good. Jameis Winston had 334 yards passing on 3 TDs. Cedric Tillman's looked pretty good. Gotta give him credit to his first 2 touchdowns of his career and 99 yards receiving. And they still have a solid defense. Defense isn't as good as last year, admittedly, but it's still pretty good. And let's talk about the elephant in the room. Why is it this team plays so much better when Deshaun Watson doesn't play? Okay, we probably know that answer. So my question is, how much do the Browns players dislike playing with Deshaun Watson? I'm going to say it like that, because maybe they like the guy. Maybe they think he's a fine person. Maybe they think the stuff going on with him is overblown. Whatever terminology you want to use. We're not getting into that. But it seems like this team's a completely different team the last 2 years when anyone else is playing quarterback versus Deshaun Watson. It's incredible. And Jameis Winston basically almost doubled the best output that Deshaun Watson had throwing the football. But that's number one. Number two, Nick Chubb's back. And today he looked maybe a little bit more like Nick Chubb. Again, I think he's not Nick Chubb of old, obviously. But he had 16 carries for 52 yards. That's not great, actually. But nonetheless, he's still getting his legs, but he's coming back. And hey, why not? But the most important reason is because Kevin Stefanski gave up play calling, and they looked fine today. They actually looked good. And with a defense like that, you don't need a special crazy offense. You just need a good offense, and then the defense can come on. They did suffer some injuries today, which isn't good, but here's the reason why I think they could why making a run is actually not completely out of the realm of possibility. Now, keep in mind, and I need to stress this, if they did make a run and made the playoffs, they'd be the first 1-6 team to ever do it. So the odds are, as they say, against them. And eventually Jerome Ford's going to come back. I think Ford and Chubb will make a really solid 1-2 punch. I think they need both of those back, especially. You don't want necessarily be giving Chubb 25 carries right now. But the schedule isn't overly difficult going forward, if we're being honest. If you look at their schedule, they got a winnable game. They got a winnable game with the Chargers next week. They travel to New Orleans. New Orleans has injury problems. Obviously, the 2 Steelers game in 3 weeks is the big ones. Then they sandwich that with a trip to Denver. Although last time they did that didn't really go well, or two years ago it wasn't. Then they have the Chiefs. That one's going to be hard. Then they travel to Cincinnati. Again, Joe Burrow struggled with Cincinnati. Yes, Cincinnati beat him last week, but that was with Deshaun Watson at quarterback. They're going to have Jameis Winston. Then they got Dolphins, and then they end at home against the Ravens. Or they end on the road at the Ravens, obviously a tough game. But really, in that stretch, yes, I know the Steelers are 5-2, and they're always 5-2. But realistically, a path to 10 wins is there. Is it likely? Of course not. But it is there, and 9-8 has a possibility of making the playoffs. I don't think it's likely in the AFC to get in the 9-8. But if the Browns go on a run, why not? Why not the Browns? I mean, seriously. They got the defense for it. Yes, it's not as good as last year. I will agree with that. But if their offense can complement that and not be a drag on society and actually be competent and maybe even possibly good, why not the Browns? Why not the Browns? That's all I'm going to say. Look, I'm a Jags fan. I basically have given up on the season. Today was great. Today was I was happy to see the resiliency going down 10 and stuff, but the defense just is not there, and it's just bad. And the Browns aren't as bad as they have shown this year, but I think you've seen it, and I think you're going to see why Kevin Stefanski's really a good coach. I genuinely think he's a good coach. I think he's the guy that's ultimately going to probably be scapegoated in this situation, but I think the Browns would be dumb to get rid of him. I actually think he's a good coach. But no, do I think the Browns are going 11-6? Of course not. That would be impressive, but unlikely. But Browns getting the 9 wins, I think it's possible. And when you get to 9-8, 9-8's made the playoffs. 9-8's made the playoffs is all I'll say. I wouldn't count out the Browns yet. Not quite yet. But I just want to make a fun video for my buddies. Don't take this video overly seriously. Although I will stand by my points in saying, hey, I don't think they're completely out of it with Jameis Winston at quarterback. I can't believe I'm saying that either. But they gotta win. Obviously, they can't lose. It's gonna be tough to make the playoffs with more losses. But nonetheless, that's for you guys, my buddies. They're all Browns fans out there, more or less, this video's for. They dared me, not really dared me. They said Zunk should make a video about Browns going 11-6, and I thought for shits and giggles I would make one for him. But hey, I wouldn't count out the Browns quite yet. But until next time, everybody, deuces.